How you guys doing? HM3, how you doing? Woody Warren, Broke Cause of Comics, how you guys doing? Good to see all of you guys. Shout out to Justin Schuler, my newest subscriber, getting me closer and closer to 800 subs. So I definitely want to say thanks to him and to all of you who have subscribed to the channel. So I just spent about an hour on the phone with Comcast, giving them an earful of my thoughts. G, how you doing? Giving them a earful of my thoughts. And come to find out, believe it or not, there is an intermittent issue on my line. So I'm Santiago, how you doing? So we have a technician that is coming out to the house tomorrow between 1 and 3, hopefully to resolve my intermittent issue with the signal coming into the house. Blade Runner, how you doing? Tony Sanders, my man, good to see you. RB3, how you doing? Yeah, no Comcast troubles so far. They've been ongoing all day. So yeah, Comcast doesn't like comics. Tell you, I think, you know, the government always talks about monopolies, right, and doing what's right for the consumer. But if you think about it, there are very few options that someone has to actually bring internet into their house. You know, and I've lived in different parts of the country, and in most parts of the country, Comcast is the only option. You could say I'm going to go through DirecTV and all that kind of stuff, but what happens if there's a storm? You also will have no internet. So I heard a rumor that Google is working on some fiber optic, and fingers crossed that happens, you know? Yeah, Woody, so one of the issues that we identified was that there was a wire running from the house to the street. And the guy, as soon as he came out, he actually saw that there was a hole in the wire. Come to find out, a squirrel or some other kind of animal had bitten into the wire, which allowed water to get inside the wire, which basically corrupted the line. So they reran the entire line from the house to the street with the hope that would resolve things. And sure enough, it had not resolved the issue. So we've been in this house, I think, almost a month now, 3 weeks or so, and we've had issues pretty much every single day. And my big frustration is that I have TV, internet, and also my security system going through them. So that gives me a tremendous amount of pause. And that was, again, part of my discussion with them today was, you know, the security system combined with my 1.5-year-old who cries every time the TV goes out. So good luck with DirecTV. Let me know how that goes. Because we actually, in one part of the country, I had AT&T, same issues. I've had, there's another cable provider that I've had in years past, but it's like every single one of them is problematic. You know, it's like no matter what you do, they all kind of suck. So today we're going to do another $1, right? $1 speculation video. I did one yesterday and I actually had a lot of fun doing that. You know, I was literally kind of connecting the dots on the fly as I was doing that video, and it was a lot of fun for me. So I want to do another one of those. I went back through some of my boxes and pulled a few more books that that I think could have some potential. And so we'll see how this thing goes. But certainly I'll be looking to the chat here from time to time to kind of see what you all's thoughts are. So the first one that I want to show you, I think is a really cool one. And RB3, you may like this, brother, and you'll probably not be surprised by this one. So the first book that popped into my mind, kind of continuing along the lines of the 90s, is this one. Jim Lee's Wildcats. This covert action team is what it stands for. This is issue number 1. I have several copies of this first shattering issue. I'm sorry, since shattering issue. And so my thought is with this one is that if you think about it, Todd McFarlane is doing some things with Spawn. He's had a couple of movies out. He is bringing Spawn back, starring, I think, Jamie Foxx as Spawn. Rob Liefeld recently signed a deal with Netflix. I think it's a 7-figure deal that he is doing with Netflix to bring his universe to the small screen. I think Eric Larson has done, I think he's trying to do some things with like Savage Dragon. I could have pulled Savage Dragon out as well, but I didn't. But I think Savage Dragon, they're trying to work some things out. My point is that the Image guys, same with the Valiant guys, are trying to do something with their assets. And Jim Lee is one guy that hasn't. You haven't heard any rumors or discussion around Jim Lee. But if you think about Jim Lee, right, he is a company man by and large, right? Back in the day when he was with Marvel, no one thought that he would ever leave Marvel. And lo and behold, he left Marvel and actually went and did the Image thing for a while. And then he came back to Marvel. And he actually, and I have it in my boxes here, he actually did Fantastic Four. He did a reboot of the Fantastic Four, and it's a series that I actually picked up as part of a collection that I bought several months ago. But he did the Fantastic Four, and then at some point or another, I kind of got out of comics, but I think he went back to DC went to DC, and he's actually with DC now. But he is a company man, at least in my appreciation of him as an individual. He's also a family man. His children, I think, are a little bit older now. And my thought is that he may be the last one to actually do something with his assets. But when he does something with it, it may be a successful endeavor if he ever decides to pull that trigger. And Wildcats is his baby. And so we could potentially see something happen with this. So I would actually be excited to see it. It'll be actually kind of cool to actually see Wildcats actually come to life. But I am a fan of Jim Lee. I'm a fan of his artwork. I don't drink alcohol, but he seems like the kind of guy that you could sit down and have a beer with. He just seems like a wonderful person, if you guys know what I mean. And he seems like a guy that you would want to get to know. So Los, welcome. How you doing, brother? RB3. Los is saying he loves Jim Lee. Yeah, me too. I think I have like 3 or 4 copies of Wildcats #1. I have that wonderful, I think it's #2, the foil cover. That thing is killer. I would like to get the white version. There is a variant version that's a white version, not a foil, that I'd like to track down at some point. Beast Mode 29 Gaming Players. How you doing, brother? Oh snap, waiting on my sign. Wildcats, very nice. Met him twice. Los, I'm telling you, I don't know the man, but I have a feeling that he's an incredibly cool guy. So shout out to RB3 who actually secured a Jim Lee signature for me. Well, technically he did it for his contest or for himself. I happened to win the contest and he awarded a really cool Jim Lee signature to me. It's the first one that I've ever owned. And I was actually thinking about it today when I pulled this book out. I was thinking I would like to get some original art of Jim Lee's because I really like his artwork. I really do. And it would be cool to own some of that. So maybe one day. Yeah, Woody, if you come across the white version of that issue, let me know. I'd like to chat with you about that one. So very cool that you got that. All right. So the next 2 books I want to show are X-Men books. And like many of you, possibly, I have been in and out of comic books like over the course of my lifetime. And when I jumped back in around 2004-ish, maybe, I picked up this book right here, Astonishing X-Men. And I do believe that this book right now is a $1 book. It is a wonderful cover. This is, I think, volume 2 of the series of Astonishing X-Men, featuring Wolverine. This is a really cool cover. This one is significant for a couple of reasons. It is actually the first appearance of Agent Brand. I think it's Brand. She is, I guess, the director of S.W.O.R.D, and I'm trying to figure some of this stuff out because, again, I was not necessarily in comics deeply during this time, but I believe that she's like the counterpart to S.H.I.E.L.D, only in the universe. She is that director, I do believe. White Whale Comics, how you doing, brother? So what's interesting about this is that Agent Brand, I think it's Abigail Brand. There is speculation that in I think it's the Captain Marvel movie that is coming out, Captain Marvel makes a phone call to someone. And I think it takes place after Thanos' snap, where most people are dead. And she makes a call. And I think there was speculation that who she called was Agent Brand. And then I think there was a scene or something like that where she like flies out and lands on some kind of spaceship or something like that. And there is the belief that it is Agent Brand that she called, that she's actually meeting with. And Agent Brand is, I think, the director of S.W.O.R.D. And you guys may know some of this stuff better than I, but that actually brings me to this next book, which is Astonishing X-Men #6. I do believe, and I need to confirm, that this is actually the first appearance of S.W.O.R.D, which is a counterpart to S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, these two books are two books that I do believe are like dollar books, are not that expensive. It is, again, Astonishing X-Men #3 and #6. I actually picked these up back in the day, and I'm debating whether I want to get another copy of this. Now, what's really cool about this, these are both really cool covers. Didn't they just get married? Kitty Pryde and Colossus, didn't they just get married? But what's really cool about this is that I think his name is Josh Whedon, who is the writer for this book, I believe is also the writer or the producer or the director of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Netflix. So there's already a little bit of, I think he created this character, right? So Agent Brand, I do believe, you guys need to confirm that. But if he is already doing some things for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., how far away is S.W.O.R.D, right? Or S.W.O.R.D, I should say. So we'll kind of see, there you go. So Josh actually wrote Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I've been watching it, I think I'm on season 4. And it's really good. It is. I've started watching it a couple of weeks ago, like consistently, and it is really, really good. I'm up to the point where they've introduced Ghost Rider, which I think is a really cool character. It is the newer version of Ghost Rider. I think he's the 4th iteration, the fourth person to carry the Ghost Rider mantle. I actually picked up his first appearance, a couple of copies of that earlier today, because there is possibly some potential there, right? I could foresee where they decide that they want to give Ghost Rider his own TV show. And that would be really cool to see, right? Because I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the Inhumans kind of tie back this whole thing with Deathlok that they introduced, and then the thing with Ghost Rider. I think that there could be some potential there. It would be kind of cool to see it. First appearance of S.W.O.R.D, no need to. There you go. So HE3 agrees that it is issue #6. That is the first appearance of S.W.O.R.D, which is pretty cool. So again, I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's really good. I think that there's maybe something that could happen with Astonishing X-Men #3 and #6. But that also brings me to my next book. It is the first issue collector's item. And this is so 90s. It is a foil cover of Deathlok #1. This is not the first appearance of Deathlok. You guys know that. He's definitely a character that is much older than this, but this is the only issue or the only series of Deathlok that I own. And my thought is, again, he's mean, he's a machine, and now it's monthly. That's hilarious. My thought is, with how they decided to do the Deathlok character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they could very easily do a TV show for him as well. I can't remember the actor's name that plays Deathlok on the show, but he does a pretty good job. I think he was the same guy that was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer back in the day. So this guy's been around, sci-fi, comic book character kind of TV shows for a very long time. Why couldn't they stretch it out and do something separate with him? Because if you pay attention and you watch the show, he's on the show, he's off the show, he's back on to kind of save the day. And so they could very easily do another show alongside where he's off doing his own thing when he's away from S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Because he actually becomes a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent at one point. So why couldn't they do something like that where he's back again, off again? I think Nick Cage to do Ghost Rider would be good. Nick Cage is done RB3. No more Nick Cage in anything. Again, White Whale Comics, he's agreeing that a Ghost Rider series done right could be correct. I don't know if you've seen him on the Netflix series, but it's actually pretty well done, right? I like how these guys are staying true to the comic, but allowing the character to be a little bit more realistic, right? Because everyone knows Ghost Rider has chains, right? But instead of chains, what this guy has is a set of keys that he uses to start the car, and he flips the keys. And when he flips the keys, it sounds like the chains. It's really well done, where again, they are staying true to the book, but allowing the character to be much more realistic. Because after all, who walks around with, 20 feet of chain, that would be silly. But how they are interpreting it for the show, I think is really nicely done. So White Whale Comics, yes. So White Whale Comics, if you guys haven't checked out his most recent video, he did I think it was a top 20, supposed to be a top 10. He did a top, I think it's like 14, but he did top 10 plus 4 honorable mentions of his favorite covers. And one of the covers he featured in there was a Ghost Rider cover from his series where he had the glow in the dark flaming head. It was a really cool cover. I think I still have it somewhere around here, but it was one of the ones that he showed. And actually in White Whale's video, he actually showed it, the book itself, and then showed the book in the dark with the glowing cover. So it's actually pretty cool. So if you guys get a chance, you can check that out. I would encourage that. Omega Comics, how you doing, brothers? Good to see you. Deathstroke would do. Deathstroke, is that Marvel? We only talk about Marvel on this channel, Prowler. We only do Marvel here. No DC stuff. But yeah, so it would be cool if they decided to do this. I showed this one again because this is the only book of Deathlok's that I own. I don't think I have any of his original first series stuff. So I'm teasing. But we don't do DC here of any form or fashion. With Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, yeah. So I don't know who that guy is that you're talking about from Walking Dead. I can probably Google it, so just bear with me on that one. From heroes to icons. Sorry about that. Edwin, how you doing? Welcome to the chat, brother. Okay, so the last book that I have for you guys is one that I think might be kind of cool. It would be interesting. Actually, I have two more maybe. So you guys, is the Runaways TV show, is that still in production? Are they still doing the Runaways, or did they discontinue that one? So Woody is saying Thanatos, aka Matt, would be disappointed. No, he wouldn't. He knows I'm not a DC guy. He's constantly trying to get me to do DC. It is not my thing. And I actually picked up from some contests, some DC books that I have yet to read. So, all right. So Tony Sanders is saying to me that Runaways, the TV show, is still going on. So I actually tried to watch that. I watched maybe 5 or 6 episodes. I couldn't really get into it. I wasn't in love with the characters, and I never really read the book. I actually had, as part of a collection I picked up, I had almost 2 full runs of the series and actually sold them to a couple of people, which was fine. I made a little bit of money off of it and used it for other things, but I wasn't really into the characters. But I could see the appeal to having a TV show around teenagers, young adults who have some powers or some abilities. I can definitely see the appeal there. So my thought was, if Runaways is still a successful show, then what are the chances of them doing another kind of spinoff of that, where they have younger people that still have powers, possibly tied to the original thing we were talking about, which is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is heavily rooted in the Avengers. So my thought was, why not Young Avengers, right? The idea is that the Young Avengers and the Runaways actually have a crossover series where I think it was tied into Secret Wars. They kind of teamed up, but this is the first issue of Young Avengers, and it says they're not what you think. I don't know what I think about them, but A couple of really cool young adults here that could potentially be turned into show, piggybacking off of Runaways and also potentially off of Agents of S.W.O.R.D. So who knows about that? And I think this is actually the first appearance of this character. I'm not even sure who the character is. I've never actually read the book, but who knows what could happen. So let me get caught up here on the chat. All right. No thanks for that show. Still doing Runaways. Oh, it's on Hulu. Okay. Renewed for season. So Runaways has been renewed for season 2 potentially. Edwin, I'll have to tell you later, brother, because I can't remember. It's one that I actually got off the Apple Store app. He's asking about my lapel mic. Highly recommend the lapel mic or some form of microphone for everybody that does videos to make sure that people can actually hear you. So this one is actually one that I picked up off of Apple's website that works with my iPad Pro, because many of them do not work with the Apple products if you don't have the Apple licensing. So Dead Clone is making a comment here about Warlock and the Affinity Watch would be a good cheap show. I almost pulled that book. I almost pulled that one. And I think, could they do a TV show of that one? They could. But I actually thought that they might try to do that more as a movie. And that was part of the reason why I didn't pull it, because, and again, I haven't seen any of the, I want to say current Marvel movies, but Thanos is going to be defeated by someone, right? Or some entity or some group of people. And so my thought was that they could potentially do some spin-off stuff with Infinity Watch, Warlock and his Infinity Watch after that. So who knows? I actually have, I want to say most of that run in a box next to me, and actually have many of them signed. I can't remember who signed them because it was done back in the day, but I think there could be something there with the Infinity Watch. So We Love Comics, Chris, how you doing, brother? There is no harmonica solo going on today. We are still waiting for Miss Hustle to do a video to take up my challenge before we do any harmonica playing on air. So White Whale Comics is basically agreeing with my notion that they could potentially do something with young teens, young adults. And I almost pulled Champions, and I actually have some Exiles as well. I was looking at those books, and that could potentially happen. What really did it for me was the connection to Runaways, which already has a show, and to Agents of S.W.O.R.D, which already has a show, and just the success of the Avengers movie. This would be an easier route, I think, versus the other two, but I could be wrong about that, right? At the end of the day, we are having some fun speculating about what could happen in the future, and none of us really know, right? So it's all fun and games. You connect a couple of dots and you make a story about it. Who knows whether those dots will truly ever be connected? So you could probably make a very compelling argument for either one of those titles or both of those titles to come through. So just having a little fun here. Young Avengers is way better than Runaways, is what From Heroes to Icons is saying. So again, who knows? Who knows? And I have several of these books. I want to say that there is a first appearance in this book, Young Avengers, I want to say, but I could be wrong about that. It's been a while. So We Love Comics, I was basically saying the same thing about Runaways. I wasn't really interested in the book, had 2 full runs that I picked up as part of a collection, ended up moving those books on to someone else. But I think I watched kind of sort of about 6 episodes or so, and I just could not find a groove with the TV show and have not gone back to it at all. But if it's been renewed for a second season, my guess is someone is watching it, and it may be young adults, young teens that are into the book that could be the ones that are watching the show. And if so, that's a great way for to some degree for Marvel to kind of introduce them to some of these other characters, is to take a similar route where you have a young adult, a young teen that has some superpowers, and that could be like their entry point into the bigger MCU and also into buying additional comics. So Woody, what's funny, bro, is this is sitting right next to me. I remember when I said I think I have 1 or 2 more books. I was thinking about Excalibur. I was debating between Excalibur and one other team, Alpha Flight, right? So those are 2 books, 2 sets of teams where no one really does anything with them. They've been like a redheaded stepchild for a very long time, where like if something happened in like the X-Men, they would send them over to Excalibur, right? To send them over to the UK for a little while. They did that with like Rachel Summers, right? So I was debating, could they do something like that? And I just don't know if there's enough popularity with Excalibur or Alpha Flight to really sustain a TV show. Now, as I say that, I don't know how popular S.W.O.R.D was with readers. Didn't S.W.O.R.D have its own book at one point in time? But I've never read it, right? So I think part of it might depend upon the writer and how they do the story, whether that would attract people. Because Excalibur and Alpha Flight, you know, more Alpha Flight because I was really into Alpha Flight. Two sets of teams with wonderful powers that could easily be set up well for TV. So who knows? Who knows? What is this? I'm trying to catch up. Alpha Flight hype. You think? The special effects, yeah. Well, I mean, we love comics in all fairness, right? If you check out what they're doing with like Agents of S.W.O.R.D, they have lots of special effects on there. They just introduced Ghost Rider recently, right? And if there is something that's hard to do, it is flames, right? Like repulsion rays with one of the characters, somewhat easy to do. Electricity, somewhat easy to do. And you see that with what is that character, the black guy? It's a DC character, Black Lightning, right? You see that with this guy on his TV show. And some of those special effects, again, are not easy to do, but they did Ghost Rider really, really well. And so to that point, they may find a way to modify things enough for TV to actually make it work. And if they have enough views, then, you know, theoretically, they can make a go of it. So, I mean, again, Alpha Flight would be cool. I mean, I like Puck. I think Puck is cool, you know, and I don't know why I always liked Puck from back in the day. And it may have been because he was small and he was feisty. He reminded me of like a miniature Wolverine, you know what I'm saying? And so maybe that's why I like Puck. But maybe, you know, who knows with any of this stuff, man. Nick Fury, Agents of S.W.O.R.D has been around since the 60s. Yeah, so I mean, with all of this stuff, I think that it is guesswork, and who knows if any of this stuff will actually happen. I mean, again, to the point of the video that I did yesterday about Darkhawk, who knew that Darkhawk was suddenly going to start going for $350 for a 9.8? Who could have guessed that? And by the way, I just picked up 3 more copies of Darkhawk today. I was in negotiations with a guy and picked up 3 copies of it. So who knows what can happen with any of this stuff. I did do a plug for DC. So in all fairness, I picked this book. I have issue number 1 and number 2 of Black Lightning. And I literally have no clue how I acquired these books. No clue. And I've had them raw in my collection for a very long time. I don't know about you guys, but I always had like a box of just random books, just super random books that just sat in one box or the back of a box, and they just were always there. Black Lightning number 1 and number 2 for me were 2 of those books that always sat in a box. And I cannot remember where or how I picked them up. But I decided to get that Black Lightning slabbed. Probably, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, I got that one slabbed when I heard that the TV show was coming out. And I've tried to watch the TV show. It's a little rough for me. I can't really get into it. But people seem to like it. And I have a feeling that one's probably going to come back for a second season. So, yeah, see, We Love Comics Chris is saying if they can make a tree and a talking raccoon popular, they can do anything. Well said. But I'm going to be honest. That Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the funnier movies I've watched in a while, right? That opening scene where Groot is dancing around to the music, it is hilarious. I mean, they do a really good job, but that's the point that we're kind of making here, is that depending upon who the writer and the director are, they can make things like Alpha Flight and Excalibur work easily, right? Easily work. And I don't even know, Oh, this is by Billy Tan. Check that out. I did not know this. This book, this Excalibur 23, is actually done by Billy Tan. And it says it says Claremont. Maybe that is Chris Claremont. I may have to read that one. I have to check that one out. So to the point, you know, who knows what could happen with any of this stuff? So for those that don't know, during one of my recent live chats, my son came in. He unlocked my door here, came inside. He brought me a harmonica, and people wanted me to play the harmonica live on the thing here, and I refused. But I made a bet with Miss Hustle. Miss Hustle, who joins a lot of live chats. Actually, I challenged her that I would play the harmonica live if she decided to do a video talking about comic books, actually showing her face. So as soon as she accepts that challenge, you guys will be treated to me playing a green harmonica made of plastic live on video. If it wasn't funny, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 would have sucked. You are probably right about that, sir. You are probably right. But it was a funny show, and I enjoyed that. So it sounds like a couple of people here, Comic Book Brigade. Sounds like a couple of you guys actually enjoy the Black Lightning show. For me, you know, I was never a DC guy, still not. I was never really a Black Lightning fan. I don't even know if I ever read the book, right? But I watched probably 4 or 5 of the episodes, and they weren't bad. I just wasn't really into the character. I didn't have any of the history. And I think some of that history and some of that nostalgia sometimes is what helps you get over the initial hump with some of these shows, and it just wasn't there for me, you know. But again, I think that show is one that is doing well and will probably come back. I think it's on the CW, and they seem to be doing really well with their shows, right? Because they're doing some Superman stuff. There's the Flash stuff, the Black Lightning, Arrow. So the CW seems to have figured out some type of formula for being able to bring these bringing these books to TV. So again, if you guys are enjoying it, I say go for it, man. First appearance to get for Excalibur is the Excalibur Special Edition. Okay, all right. I'll have to write that one down, Chris. Chris always gives great recommendations for spec books to pick up and just books in general, to be honest with you. So Tony Sanders is saying he likes Captain Britain and his backstory. DC Comics is insisting it right now. Yeah. All right. So Black Lightning show in 2 days. Pretty good. Yep. So, I mean, again, I think a couple of you guys are really enjoying that show. So one more time, I'm going to kind of run through these books that I've kind of picked up. And if you guys haven't had a chance to go back and watch the previous videos that I did on the spec stuff, because again, this is the first time I've ever really done spec videos. I typically leave that to other people, but I decided to do it because I thought it would be fun, right? It would be fun. It would be something different. So, so here goes. The first book that I identified was Wildcats, #1. This is Jim Lee's property from his time at Image. It was a great story, I think great artwork back in the 90s that could very easily, very easily find a home somewhere now, especially with Jim Lee and his great artwork. The next book that I identified was Deathlok. Not this particular Deathlok, but Deathlok, the character, because of what's happening with the Agents of S.W.O.R.D. and the fact that Deathlok has been on that show and seems to be doing a pretty good job on, you know, bringing that type of character to the small screen. The next books, 2 books that I identify are Astonishing X-Men #3. This is the first appearance of Abigail Brand, who is, I believe, the director of S.W.O.R.D. And then also Astonishing X-Men #6. This is the first appearance of S.W.O.R.D. So those 2 books kind of tie in quite nicely with Agents of S.W.O.R.D. and possibly also with the Captain Marvel movie that's going to be coming out sometime soon. And then again, for young adults to find a home with the MCU, to piggyback off of what's happening with Runaways on Hulu and also Agents of S.W.O.R.D. There's a little bit of a theme here. There is this one. This is Young Avengers #1. And so this is a book, I think it has a first appearance in here as well. But again, with all of these books, who knows what the future holds? I've had every single one of these books since they came out, and they've been part of my collection. So it's not like I went out and bought these for any special purpose. And then the other thing is I picked up 3 additional copies of Darkhawk today. So who knows what could happen with that one. But right now, Darkhawk is going for a healthy amount of money. So yeah, so HE3 is saying that Wildcats #1 is scarce. Is that true? Is that true? I don't know about that. I don't know. I really don't know. C. Woodard in the house. How you doing, brother? C. Woodard, did your contest wrap up already, or is it's still ongoing, right? If so, give the date so people can enter the contest. King B 1998, how you doing? Miss Hustle is here. Miss Hustle, Tony Sanders is saying make that video. I guess he wants to see me play that green harmonica. I am in no rush to do that. So Chris, let's put it this way, if she does that video and I play that green plastic harmonica on live stream, I will be playing whatever everyone's favorite song is, because I'm going to play it that well that it will be every song all at the same time. That's how well that I'm going to play. Yeah, I think back in the day they printed 1 million copies of just about every book, whether it was Spawn or Wildcats or Shadowhawk or any of those things. I think they printed all of those things. I don't know what the print run is. I think it's issue #2, the white cover. I have a couple of copies of the foil #2, but that white cover variant is one that I don't have. I don't know what the print run is on that one. I've actually never seen it in person. My guess is that the print run is a little bit lower, but I could be wrong about that. Miss Hustle, okay. And do not play. Oh, finally, someone that has some sense. Omega Comics says, do not play that harmonica. So, gotta support the future generation of collector comics with Bueller. You guys are hilarious. Wetworks, that's a good one. That's a good one. I may actually go back and read that one. There were some really good books in the 90s, and to some degree they were good because of the art and the hype that was around them. But there's a couple that I think are really solid from back in the day. Yeah, let me know. HME, let me know what the print run is on that one. Keep me posted, because I would like to know that one. I've never seen that book in person, and I think it's just, whether it's worth something or not, I think it's a cool book to have. I mean, so many of these books that I have that are in boxes from like Valiant and Image are just cool books to have because they're part of my childhood, and I don't have them because they're worth anything. It's just a part of my childhood. One book that I cannot find, and I think it got away from me. You guys may remember this book. It was called Terror Inc. Terror Inc. back in the 90s. I want to say I had a couple of these, and my memory was that it was a really good read, but it might not have been. But I want to see if I can track down a copy of that, because I had that book for quite some time, and somehow it got away from me. So, let me see. I'm not surprised you haven't done anything with Gen 13. Yeah, Gen 13, weren't those, some of the interior pages of that book were done by J. Scott Campbell, I think. Because I think J. Scott Campbell is really known for covers. But I think, and you guys may know better than I, that I think he did some of the interior panels in Gen 13 as well. Terror Inc. is spectacular. Oh man, I have issue #1 of Terror Inc. for 50 cents. I will take it, sir. I will take it. I want that book. It's got to be a 9.8 though. I only do 9.8. I have never read Gen 13. I actually have a couple of them in my collection that I picked up from a guy. It was a guy, somehow I picked up this collection from a guy up in Oakland who actually worked at one point in time for Image. And I picked up a collection from him because he had a couple of really cool books, but then he also had a ton of Image books in his collection. Some of them were signed, some of them I think he got free, some of them he paid for, but there were a ton of Image books. And so I just added those Image books to my current collection of Image books, and they're all sitting over in a corner. Yeah, so Chris's comment here is that J. Scott Campbell always draws women that look like elves. So he does He does, in my opinion, a really good job with women. With men, not so much. Women look incredible, but there was a cover he did featuring Domino, Cable, and Deadpool. And I think only Domino looked good. The rest of them looked a little off. I think that he's done Spider-Man pretty well. Not great, but I think he does pretty well. But his women are incredible in my opinion. Maybe it's because I like elves. I don't know. Could be something there. Maybe I need to look into that one. Want to know what's the thing with New Mutants 52? New Mutants. So Miss Hustle, tell me more. New Mutants 52. I'm not even familiar with that issue, to be honest with you. So yeah, so there we go. So White Whale Comics is basically saying that Gen 13 was indeed done by J. Scott Campbell. I want to say I have a couple of those books again that I picked up from this guy up in Oakland. I've never read them, never even opened them up. But when I realized that J. Scott Campbell not only did the covers, but also did some of the interior work, I want to say that I put those books aside. So if you guys can read if you guys will be able to see in the playback of this, the comments, you're going to get a kick out of Chris because he is on a roll today. So New Mutants number 18 and what's the deal with number 18 and what's the deal with number 52? Because I'm hearing some stuff happening with those two books. So Gomez, the comic collector, this was actually not in a store. I actually picked them up from a private seller. The guy was moving to Portland or something like that with his girlfriend. So I picked up his books. It was probably 5 long boxes, a cooler, literally a cooler full of books, and a short box. I picked them up from him several months ago for a couple of bucks, but it wasn't from the shop. So here HME Comics is basically saying that the white cover for Wildcats, I think that's issue number 2, were newsstand only, and maybe that's why I haven't seen one. But again, if one of you guys comes across the issue number 2 white, I'd like to chat with you about that one. Those for a little bit less than 20 bucks on eBay. Yeah, we're not gonna go eBay. We're gonna avoid that and maybe avoid those fees, which should bring that price down a little bit. And because there's a family and friends discount that I typically get, we should be talking about $2 is my thought. Wait a minute, so Tony Sanders, J. Scott Campbell did Savage Dragon? In the letters, huh? I have to check that out. I didn't know that he actually did anything for Image Comics. That's kind of cool. New Mutants 18 is the first appearance of Warlock. Oh, wait a minute. Is that right? New Mutants 18. Oh, you're talking about the black, the weird one, right? Wasn't he from another planet or something like that? That Warlock? Yeah, there's definitely 18 was Demon Bear. It's that painted cover. I can't remember who painted. I want to say the guy's name is Bill something. Oh, maybe that's what it is. Bill, I think his last name starts with an S. He recently painted a Doom cover for Fantastic Four #1. He also did several other covers, including New Mutants 18, which is the first appearance of Bear, Ghost Bear or something like that. Maybe that's what it is. Demon Bear. There you go. There you go. I think I do have that book. I may have picked that book up for like a couple of bucks when I was on a business trip to Illinois, I want to say. Yeah, I've got a couple of those brigades in a box over here. Yeah. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. I want to thank you guys for joining me. I really enjoy just these spec videos because honestly, we're just on here just talking some trash, figuring some stuff out, connecting some dots, having some conversations kind of on the fly about some of this stuff. Just having fun, man. So, and that's what, for me, this stuff is all about. It's about interacting with you guys, having some fun, talking about comic books. So I want to thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me to kind of chat about this. There's a couple of things I want to follow up on. There's a couple of things I want to follow up on with you guys, but I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me and to talk a little bit about comics. So thank you guys. Take care and have a good one.